By all accounts, 2020 was a tough year, but somehow, through it all, people continued to make, display, and support art. In this show, we'll look back at some of our favorite segments from a challenging, yet still creative year. When COVID-19 struck, Roundhouse Theater, like so many others, canceled their upcoming season. And then came the scramble to develop ways for artists to keep creating and stay employed. For Roundhouse, one of the answers was the web series Homebound. It's the story of two main characters, played by Craig Wallace and Mahmoud Ibrahimzada, coping with situations and people during a pandemic.
I was barely at the conference, and I doubt I was even near the guy who tested positive, but, of course, caution is good. No people, but, who misses people, right? If anything, I've become more productive since I can't come to the office. It's like, everywhere is now my office.
Good. Is that good? You said it in an upbeat way.
I did say it in an upbeat way. Oh, I see the link. I'm hanging up now.
Hello.
You aren't a potato.
I think you must have downloaded a filter or something.
Please help. You see my predicament? Have to run the meeting, and I doubt a potato will command respect from my colleagues. Who listens to a potato?
Well,
the main idea behind Homebound was to be able to employ some of the artists that had lost work subsequently, as well as being able to create some sort of digital content that felt current and topical to what was going on in the world, and being able to comment on that in an artistic way. There are 10 total episodes for Homebound. I was in, I believe, 6 of them. And I served as the director of photography on the series. Each episode dealt with a very specific topic. Each episode had a different writer, and to create a new vocabulary for how we want to tell a story and the medium in which we are given to tell that story became a real exploration of our skills, of our talents, of our passion, of our determination, our drive, and we adapted, which I think is what artists are designed to do.
The show was shot incredibly creatively. Previously, Roundhouse would have sent us lighting equipment to our house, socially distanced, left on our porch. We would have a script meeting on Friday. Then that Monday, we would all gather on Zoom, and then we would figure out how to shoot each shot in the story. And that would involve the lighting designer, the director, and the lighting designer, the director, and the director of photography, telling each actor how to set up their shot with the lights and with our iPhones. I'm 25, maybe 27 years in professional theater. I didn't know any of this stuff. Ultimately, I enjoyed it. Initially, like with anything else that you're foreign to, it was frustrating. It was not what I was used to. But because I was in 6 of the 10 episodes, after a while I got the hang of it.
What centimorgan is?
No.
It is a unit that measures genetic linkage. According to Ancestry.com, we share 3,400 of those, which makes you my father.
Ancestry.com? I'm not even in their database.
Dad, don't do this to me. It is a joke, Craig. I got you.
What? Who is this?
It's Kofi.
Kofi. The security guard at CFS.
Owner of the security card company at CFS? Yes, Craig, it's me, oh. I hoodwinked you.
You didn't fool me, Kofi.
As far as what I'm looking forward to in the future, that is all so very uncertain right now. So much of our industry is about being in close proximity to one another. Without a vaccine, at least from my end, and I know a lot of other people feel the same way, without a vaccine, there is no future for us on stage. The risks are just so high.
So the 10-episode web series Homebound can be found right on YouTube. If you go to Roundhouse Theater's YouTube site and look up Homebound, all 10 episodes are there.
And I can't stop thinking about her. I keep hearing her voice in my head, you know? Am I crazy? Does that make me crazy?
No, I don't use that word, but this idea of paralysis, we should explore that. What keeps you from going outside, you know, reaching out? Oh my God.
Hang on, you have a baby?
Oh my God, there's poop everywhere.
Oh.
Oh my God, there's poop everywhere.
Oh.
I'm gonna have to call you back.
Mm-hmm.
For me, making art in a pandemic isn't about pushing the limits for the sake of art. Art doesn't need us to exist. We need art to exist. So for me, the question is, how do I tell stories, and what medium do I need to use in order to tell stories?
June Mines knows how to catch someone's eye, and she does it by curating some of the most unique and funky designer eyewear around. June's been in the eyeglass business for more than 4 decades and started her own company, These Eyes of Mine, 25 years ago.
And I started in the lab first, grinding lenses, filling prescriptions, things like that. Maybe about 3 years later, I started working for chains in Atlanta, large chains like Lens Crafters, Pearls, America's Best, and that's when I got all of the other sides, contact lens, sales. So I've been doing it a very long time. One of the things that I didn't like, because most of the chains, they sell by the thousands, one style by the thousands. And I had to kind of lie to people because we were working on commission. And it made me feel bad because I would come home thinking that frame looked horrible on that person. And why would I sit there and tell them that the frame looked good on them is why I have a unique business. And that's why I do one-of-a-kind frames from all over the world, because I believe that there's enough to go around. We all deserve to have our own one-of-a-kind, unique look. And no two people in the world are the same. So why have 10 of one style when I can have one of each style? So that's what I do. I travel, I find frames from all over the world, very unique, very different. And I fit to that frame. I marry that frame to your face based on your style and personality, and that's how I'm able to get my clients, is all through word of mouth. So we have 4 conferences every year. There's one in New York. There is one in Silmo. It's called Silmo, but it's in Paris. There's one in Milan, and then there's one in Vegas. You know, and these people are traveling from all over the world. So we're all coming together under one roof to exchange ideas and to find the most unique frames. So a lot of them are handmade in little small countries, in little small towns in Italy, and so you get to meet the actual designer and the actual manufacturers. So everyone's there under one umbrella, and that's how we end up finding, that's how I end up finding frames, is going to these different conferences. There's always trends, and then there are always frames that are timeless, we should say, just like the cat eye. The cat eyes are timeless. People are always they're always gonna be cat eyes. A lot of people come in and they want tortoise shells. So you have the trendies, and then you have the timeless. You know, I think that women are wearing, bold, funky, rectangular frames, which Men wear mostly rectangular, and round now is a pretty prominent shape that a lot of people are getting into, is the round frame. So now when you go places, pretty much 90% of the frames are unisex. So I typically find frames that are timeless because people are coming in and they're spending money and they want something that's going to be with them for a while and it's never going to go out of style. So typically that's what I usually push. So I have expanded nationally. I'm in a lot of other cities but DC. DC is my base. I started in DC. I started out in my car, believe it or not. You know, over 25 years ago, I was going to people's homes with my eyeglass cases to homes and pulling out and spending hours in someone's home to find that perfect frame for their face, and working out of my home. And then I picked up many other cities. So I'm in Atlanta, I'm in Chicago, I'm in New York, I'm in New Orleans. I'm pretty much everywhere. And that came through conventions. I started doing shows. I'm with the Deltas, I do the Black Theater Festival, I do Caucus. So once you start doing the shows, the conventions, that's how you pick up your clientele in different cities. And once you build a certain clientele in those cities, then that demands you to go to that city, you know, every 3 months, every 6 months, to see more and more people, because each, you know, person that get glasses, that's referrals, and so that's how you end up building a strong clientele in each city.
She must be doing something right to keep them coming back. Special thanks to our eyeglass model, June's longtime friend and realtor, Rakia Gilbert. To find out more about June's jazzy eyeglass collection, visit theseeyesofminds.com. Capoeira, a martial arts tradition developed by African slaves in Brazil in the 16th century. It's a lyrical yet forceful combination of kicks, acrobatics, and dance-like moves, supported by music and the call of the berimbau, a single-string percussion instrument and musical bow. ARTICO visited the newly renovated Brazilian American Cultural Center to find out more about capoeira from its co-director, Mestre Bama, an actual capoeira master and student of the art since 1980.
Foi mais estudada.
In Rio, capoeira became more of a studied form.
Evoluiu mais a capoeira. Ele deu
They evolved
uma
it more,
suspendida na capoeira.
and so it became more well known.
Mas o fundamento da capoeira na Bahia.
But the fundamentals of capoeira are from Bahia.
Meu pai
My father
treinou capoeira.
trained capoeira.
Treinou capoeira com o mestre Bimba.
He trained with Mestre Bimba, who is the founder of Capoeira Regional.
Mas meu pai nunca me ensinou capoeira.
But my father never taught me capoeira.
Ele sempre falava que ele não queria isso para mim.
He always said he didn't want that for me.
E eu ficava falando, por quê?
So I was like, well, why? Why is this?
Porque dos melhores amigos dele
Because one of his best friends
faleceu numa roda de capoeira.
died in a capoeira roda. So a roda of capoeira is when you come together and you play in a circle against each other. A lot of people think capoeira is just a dance.
Capoeira é uma luta com boxe.
Capoeira is a fight like boxing, karate, like taekwondo, like judo.
Capoeira você pode,
Yes, with capoeira you can hurt
você
yourself.
pode machucar alguém,
You can hurt someone.
entendeu? E pode se machucar.
And you can also be hurt yourself.
Em taekwondo chuta.
They kick in
Karatê
taekwondo.
chuta.
In karate they kick as well.
O chute da capoeira chute mais violento.
But the capoeira kick is a more violent kick.
Nosso chute com certeza.
Because we train our kick kind of with an exact positioning.
Mestre Bama is a master teacher and over the years has observed how different students handle the challenges of capoeira. For students from the U.S., he says, it's all in the wrists.
Here I've observed a lot of students are strong and maybe muscular, but at the time to do like a push-up type movement or holding your body up, they tremble. So the role of capoeira in music in capoeira is
Eu vi a música como debate.
Music is like a debate.
Eu cantava uma música para você.
I sing a music to you.
Você cantava uma música.
You respond to me. You sing the music to me.
Então, hoje em dia, a música da capoeira está muito mesclada.
So today the music of capoeira is sometimes mixed up. Mas qual é a função de música dentro de capoeira?
Harmonia.
So music creates harmony within capoeira, so that it's beautiful, more beautiful. The play of the capoeira is more beautiful. Because a group of capoeira without music is not going anywhere. It's the part of dancing capoeira is the music. So the way you're moving your body in that manner. That's where the music ends. The function of berimbau in a capoeira roda. The berimbau is the instrument that orders the structure of a capoeira roda, and a roda again is the circle where people come together and play capoeira against each other.
O berimbau, ele chama o capoeirista está jogando, mas é a obrigação do capoeirista.
The berimbau calls the capoeirista. And so the capoeirista is playing capoeira, but he's obliged to listen to the berimbau and listen to what the berimbau is saying.
O jogo tá comendo.
So the game starts.
Os dois que tá aqui.
For the two that are there.
Os dois sair.
For two to leave, the two that are there to come together and play.
Eu ensino capoeira regional.
I teach capoeira regional.
A diferença aqui, ó, Angola é no chão.
Capoeira Angola is more on the floor.
E regional é em cima.
And regional is done more upright. That's the baseline physical difference. The capoeira game.
Movimentos.
Capoeira play.
Quem faz movimento mais bonito.
Who does a movement prettier than the other? Who goes in faster? Who dodges faster?
Bom capoeirista sempre tem que estar sorrindo.
A good capoeirista always has to be smiling.
Yes.
Playing like that, no. You can be smiling.
Se você for brigar,
even if you want to go fight
na rua,
in the street,
você não tem que demonstrar a sua raiva.
You don't have to show your anger.
Tem que estar.
You have to be smiling.
You know? Porque isso atrapalha o seu adversário.
This trips up your adversary.
In addition to capoeira, the center has samba classes, Portuguese classes, all levels, Brazilian-style cooking lessons, and new activities coming up as the fall gets underway. To find out more about the Brazilian American Cultural Center, go to baccdc.org. Carolyn Moraskin founded DC Design Tours in 2015. Trained as an architect, Carolyn worked in the field for 5 years, but decided it was more fun to talk about buildings than draw them. Carolyn offers a variety of city tours. We hung out with her on one of her favorites.
This tour, DuPont Circle and Embassy Row, it's one of my favorites. Each tour has a bit of a theme. So this one is sort of rich people and the crazy things they build with their money. So So this tour is all about Gilded Age Washington, these rich Washingtonians building elaborate, opulent mansions and a giant game of keeping up with the Joneses. And just kind of the general transformation that the city has made over the course of 250 years. You really see almost everything. We don't have too much modern, but short of modern, there's a real, like I said, diversity of styles across the city. And the area really develops in the 1880s thanks to the involvement of a guy named Boss Shepherd, Alexander Boss Shepherd. Boss is definitely the operative word here. He was kind of like a mafioso of his day. He was governor of Washington, D.C. back when we had governors. And he sort of sets his sights on this neighborhood to develop as a nouveau riche area. So the types of folks he draws to this area are not sort of the old Southern blue blood wealth, because that's all gone after the Civil War. This is the nouveau riche. So the type of folks that move here are railroad tycoons, newspaper magnates, scientists, sort of these captains of industry that start to come here and build big, magnificent mansions. Now, Boss also renames this circle, formerly Pacific Circle, renames it for Admiral Francis DuPont. So there was originally a statue of DuPont here in the middle. It's funny though, because the DuPonts is a rich Washingtonian, or not Washingtonian, rich American family, famous for publishing and pharmacy. They're still all over Delaware. They had very little association with DuPont Circle. The idea was just that if he named the neighborhood after rich people, that rich people would move here. And it worked. So there was...
Build it, they will come.
Exactly. So this is the Blaine Mansion. This is a great place to start because this is one of the oldest houses that still exists in the DuPont Circle neighborhood. Built in 1888 by James Blaine, three-time presidential hopeful. So he didn't live here very long. He actually moved out because he said the house was too far away from the White House. The man who moves in was George Westinghouse, who was a famous scientist and contemporary of Thomas Edison. Now it's also a good example about the diversity of architectural styles. This is a Queen Anne revival style. So originally comes from England, from the reign of Queen Anne. Us Americans, we really like to manipulate European styles and make them our own. So elements of Queen Anne, if we look up at the top, you can see all the different roof lines, a lot of different chimneys. Symmetry is important to Queen Anne architecture. Those beautiful details in terracotta between the windows there. The finials at the very, very top, which are those sort of jutting out stone sculpted pieces. Now this is the house of one of my absolute favorite Washingtonians on the tour, a woman named Alice Roosevelt Longworth, who's the daughter of Teddy Roosevelt. Now she had a great quote about her dad. She said, "My father, Teddy, likes to be the baby at every christening, the bride at every wedding, and the corpse at every funeral." And that definitely described him, but it also described Alice. She was a big character. For example, she has a pet snake named Emily Spinach that she would wear around her neck as a necklace to sort of freak out visiting diplomats. So she was known to smoke and drink. She would ride in cars with men unchaperoned. She would skinny dip in the Potomac River, sunbathe on the roof of the White House. So essentially, Teddy just can't wait to get rid of her, and he arranges a marriage for her with a man named Longworth, who our Longworth Congressional Building is named for. So he's a congressman. Their wedding happens right on the front lawn of the White House, massively attended. Alice is sure to wear a blue wedding dress, lest anyone think the symbolism of the white wedding dress apply to her, get my drift. And she also cuts her wedding cake with a samurai sword. So their marriage, very rocky right from the start. They both have affairs. She has a daughter by another man. So they divorce. She moves into this house, has it built for herself in an Italianate revival style, lives here the rest of her life, remains very politically active. Supposedly, if you wanted to get anywhere in DC politics, you had to come here and pay Alice a visit, and she lived until 1980. So behind me here is the Walsh Mclean Mansion, another home of a Gilded Age Washingtonian. This one has a bit of American dream story attached to it. It was built initially by George Walsh, who was an Irish immigrant, came to the United States with very little, went out to California and Colorado and made a fortune in mining, gold mining. Now this building is in a neo-Baroque style, so now we're talking about French styles as opposed to English styles. Later we'll see Italian styles and Spanish styles. Again, there's all sorts on Embassy Row. Things about this building that make it French. First and foremost is the roof. That's called a Mansard roof. It's very steep. Normally it would be built in blue slate. Here we've got red. We also have very heavy trim, the cornice around the bottom, right where it goes from red to green. That's called a cornice, very thick. That's also very French. And then the most impressive thing to me about the building is the curvature of the facade. See how the front kind of undulates? So far we've seen Italian, we've seen French, we've seen British. Here we have a neoclassical building. So this is kind of that iconic style of Washington inspired by Greece and Rome. When this house was built, the Anderson Mansion, it was the biggest house on Millionaires Row, built for $835,000, which is about $26, $27 million today. Now the Andersons, they never had any children, so when they passed away, they willed their house to become the headquarters of something called the Society of the Cincinnati, which is still what it is. This is the oldest fraternal order in the United States. To be a member, you have to trace your lineage back to a commissioned officer who fought in the Continental Army in the American Revolution. The great thing about it is that it's open to the public. So anyone can go inside, it's free. They usually have exhibits about the American Revolution and you can tour through the house. It's fabulous. All right, so behind me here is one of my absolute favorite houses on the tour, both for the architecture and for the story. So this is known as the Everett Mansion. Today it's the residence of the Turkish ambassador, and originally was built by Everett, sort of your typical American industrialist. He was an early adopter of the fluted bottle cap, which is on the top of beer that we still use today. And when he died, he hadn't allocated in his will how his daughters were to inherit the house. And ultimately they decide, okay, no one is inheriting the house, and they sell it to Turkey. So in the 1930s, the first ambassador to the United States from Turkey moves in with his family. He's got 2 sons, his daughter, his wife, now all living in Washington, D.C. And his boys, who are now growing up in the city, become very enamored with jazz music. So these 2 sons become so enamored with the jazz scene, they end up holding concerts in their home, some of the very first integrated concerts in the United States, white and black mixing together, appreciating jazz. And the punchline to the story is that these 2 boys go on to be so involved and so in love with music, they're actually the founders of Atlantic Records.
Wow, our own DC historic and architectural version of Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. And if you want to know more about DC Design Tours, visit info@dcdesigntours.com. That's our show for now. Thanks for watching, and until next time, always remember to follow your art. This program was produced by WHUT and made possible by contributions from viewers like you. For more information on this program or any other program, please visit our website at whut.org. Thank you.